Good morning. Hi, my name is Amy Kice, and I work at St. Edward's University, which is located in Austin, Texas.
Hi, good morning. I'm Brandy Fransen, and I work at Rollins College, which is located in Winter Park, Orlando, Florida.
And we're here to give a brief presentation about things that you should consider once you've been admitted to an undergraduate university in the United States. So stay with us.
We both represent liberal arts universities in the United States, and so we're going to talk a little bit about campus life and dining and all sorts of fun things.
So the title of our presentation is You Are Admitted, Now What? And the idea is that there are lots of things that you can look at in making your college decision, and there's many universities in the United States, and we all have exciting things to offer, but what's really the best fit for you? And we compile a small list. It's not everything you should consider, but these are a few things for you to think about. All right.
Okay, so definitely not an all-encompassing list, but we would be here for a lot longer if we were to include everything. These topics that we have listed here are just some ideas that you may have never considered before. The first one being enrollment, so the total size of your institution that you've been accepted to. Average class size is a perfectly good question because the average class size in colleges and universities in the US is about 200 students. So there are some universities that have 10 students, there are some universities that have 15, 17, 20, 25. It ranges, and depending on how you learn, you may prefer one or the other.
And one thing to think about is, where are you currently learning? If you're in a small high school, secondary school, and you are used to attending a class that has 20, 25 students in it, are you enjoying that? Where there are many high schools that will have hundreds, if not thousands of students in one kind of graduating class, and those students are typically more used to attending a very large institution. So those are some things to consider when you are looking at what type of university would best fit your learning style.
Right, and it also comes down to whether you want to feel like you're part of a cohort, like a part of a class, or is it that you're just in the same year with a bunch of other students that happen to be taking a range of other majors. And we'll talk a little bit more about cohorts when it comes to housing and things like that, but it's part of your community. So if you want to feel like you're part of a community, you should ask those kind of questions. The same with regards to international students. So how many other international students are located on campus? Can I choose to live with another international student? How many will be in my classroom? So an average I would say an average across the board for a percentage of international students is between 5 and 10%. So if you think about it, if you have a class of 20 students, that means that 1 to 2 are going to be international students.
And if anyone has dual citizenship, for instance, if you're a U.S., United States, and another citizenship, unfortunately, we are counting you as a U.S. citizen. So we also have a lot of students on our campuses who have many different citizenships. And a lot of those students are involved in orientation and different events. But when you're looking at a true percentage of international students, typically universities are only allowed to report on students who have one passport from another country outside the United States.
Yeah, and it's also fair to ask to be included in the international orientation process, even if you have more than one passport, when one of them happens to be a U.S. passport, because culturally you are an international student, even if you've never lived in the United States. So,
yep, and both Brandy and I work at what we consider small universities in the United States. So, for instance, my undergraduate population at St. Edward's is 3,700.
And mine is only 2,000.
And so professors are going to know your name. They're going to know if you come to class. They're going to know if you don't come to class. And so you really are going to get that involvement in the classroom. And so somebody next to you is going to raise their hand and say, this is what it's like where I come from. And you're going to be able to raise your hand and say, this is what it's like where I come from. So you're learning from other students from around the world and from, right in the United States.
Right. You may, it's cultural exchange. That's really the whole, I mean, other than the fact that you're obviously going to get an education and you're like you are part of the academic process, it's also exchange in terms of culture and just learning about other people.
Location, location, location. If you haven't heard that before, I'm sure you will hear it sometime in your life. So location can mean a lot of things. It can mean where the campus is located within a city. So some campuses will be in a very large city, but the actual campus will be 20, 30 miles from that large city. And so the campus itself sits in a neighborhood. It could be even very rural. Some campuses sit in the downtown of a very urban city. So you are right in the heart of the city. There's not really a campus life, but you will walk from building to building, and you're still considered like a downtown. And then location can also mean within the United States. State are you located? What's the weather? And what type of people actually live in that city, in that state.
Right. And I mean, it will be in terms of proximity to an airport, you always want to take into consideration travel time and how long it's going to take for you to get from your home city to wherever you are going to be attending university. Weather, like Amy said, can be a huge factor. You are going to be living there for 4 years, and in the beginning, it may not seem like that big of a, big part of the choice. But come year 3, if you really, really hate sunshine, or if you really, really hate snow, it can get very old very fast. So it's a good thing to consider, where am I going to be living? What kind of cultural events happen in that city?
All right, let's talk about living on campus. So why do many universities require students to live on campus? It's not a punishment. It's actually better for students academically if you spend at least 1 or 2 years living on a college campus. Typically, when you go to university in the United States, you're not taking classes in a block schedule. So you might have a class at 9 a.m. and then not another class until 2 p.m. And so if you have to get in your car and you drive home, if you hit traffic and then you're running late, it's more difficult to come back. And so actually living on campus gives you a chance to meet other students. You're learning outside the classroom, so somebody is going to help you with math. You might help them with German. So it is a great way to really stay engaged on campus.
Yeah, it's a great way to feel like you're part of a community. And so you will have, like Amy said, you might have study time between class periods, or you might have a sport that you want to do, like might want to go play a basketball game before you have to go to your next class. It's a great way for you to feel like this is your home, and for you to feel like this is, and also activities that might happen on campus. So if there might be a special concert that day, or there might be a food fest that day, you wouldn't necessarily always know that unless you were walking past it.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of different housing options. So there are themes, there's different styles, there's different bathrooms, there's different requirements. Some universities are going to have all women residence halls or all men residence halls, or they're going to have a certain theme. So don't hesitate to ask about all the different housing options, because you will find a wide variety across campuses, across the United States. And some very large institutions actually don't require housing, and they don't have guaranteed housing. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can also look at universities that just say, you're on your own, find a place to live. We have apartments or houses to rent in the area.
And most of the universities, when you make your housing deposit, when you've decided that you're going to enroll, they have these walkthroughs or floor plans that you can look at online through their websites, and you can see what your room's going to look like. How many, depending on whether you choose to live with one other person or 2 other people, your university may offer single housing. So there's, again, a lot of different options, and you can see all of this before you arrive on campus.
Campus life. This is a big deal. Every university has a different personality, kind of like each of you out there today has a different personality. And part of the idea is to find the match, between your personality and the personality of a campus. And you're like, how in the world do I do that? One question you might ask is, what is campus life like on your campus? And we all have different personalities. And unfortunately, most students can't visit every single university that they're interested in. But one way to do that is just to ask local students or representatives, can you give me a brief information about your campus life?
Right. And clubs and organizations, I mean, for example, I know my institution has over 100 clubs and organizations that have been started by students. So if you're very passionate about, you name it, you're passionate about a sport, you're passionate about video games, you're passionate about social justice, you're passionate about LGBTQ rights, those are all things that you can create your own special club or organization around, and you can do fundraising and you can do activities on campus. We actually have a radio station, so you can be part of that. So there's a whole host of things that you can be involved in outside of just going to class.
Yeah, because the whole idea, even when you get to university, is kind of integrating things that you're learning in the classroom, things outside of class that really spark your interest. So this is the one chance that you really get to kind of engage with some sort of social platform that you have been interested in learning more about, or just something fun. You can do what we say intramural sports, where you learn how to play flag football, or you learn how to play rugby or dodgeball. So there's lots of options. It can be something that's religious. It can be something that's like outdoor adventure, like let's go hiking or camping. So ask if the certain university has one sort of club and organization that you are super excited about.
Okay, go on to dining options. This is one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
So food. Food is really important. There's I'm not sure many of you will remember, but there's this old rumor about the freshman 15 and gaining 15 pounds. And I actually lost 15 pounds when I went because my mom's cooking was so delicious. And then when I got to college, it wasn't so delicious. But colleges and universities across the United States have done a really good job of trying to accommodate all dietary needs, whether you're vegan or vegetarian, or you need to have halal food or kosher food. It doesn't make a difference. They usually accommodate, and it's a great way for you to get to learn the cuisine of the locals. A lot of times they integrate local farms, and they will be very accommodating. I know that at Rollins, this is a picture from our Instagram, they actually post the lunches before you go to class or before you go to lunch, so you know what's on the menu before you get there. So they plate these and they like take pictures of them so the students know what's going to be available. So it's a kind of neat thing.
Yeah, and so take this into consideration also if you are used to eating dinner much later than crazy Americans eat, like at 5:30 or 6 p.m. I know that sounds awful. Ask your university, see, do you have dining facilities that are open late? I'm used to eating dinner at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. What are my options? Is there anything open? And how much does it cost? Is a plate of food $5? Am I charged for every cup of coffee? What happens if I have to purchase a meal plan? Like, what can I do with that leftover money at the end of the semester or the end of the year? There's so many different options out there. And food should be something that you consider, especially if you have any sort of dietary restrictions or personal needs that you would like in a dining facility.
Yeah, there's really no reason that you shouldn't be able to find, what you need. And as far as like Amy mentioned, the meal plans, there are so many different varieties. Like if you don't eat breakfast in the morning, then you could choose one that's less meals per week. Or if you want to pay as you go, sometimes universities do that. So it's good to ask those questions. I know that with us, if you have food or if you have money left over at the end of the year, you can donate it to a food bank. So there's a whole host of ideas that each university has come up with in order to remedy that.
All right, so international student services. So this can be so different at every institution. The two of us were even talking about kind of what different offices do on our two campuses. But on a very basic level, most international student services offices will help you with the visa process. Of course, you should contact your local EducationUSA office. They can be very helpful if you have questions of how does it work, what do I need, what are the documents. But also you need somebody in the stateside, somebody at the university that will help you with that process. And even once you get to our college campuses, how are they going to help you stay what we say in status? I want to get a job on campus. I want to do an internship. I want to study abroad for a semester. How does that affect my visa immigration status? So every institution that actually allows F1, which are student visas, will have some type of office that works with those students.
Yeah, and that office can have a number of different responsibilities, and it varies from school to school. If you have a really hard time getting a cell phone because you don't know how to do that yet, they can sometimes help you with that, or opening up a bank account, or picking you up at the airport because you don't have any other mode of transportation, or if you really are very homesick and you're having a hard time, you're struggling, you miss your boyfriend, you miss your girlfriend, they sometimes offer counseling and emotional help as well. So again, it's going to vary from school to school, but this is sort of your one-stop shop as an international student. This is who is your support when you are there, and that's the way it's designed. And this is a really important question to ask when you're being accepted. Do you have an international student services office? What are the names of all the staff? Can I access them? What are their email addresses? Those things should be readily available.
Yeah, and don't hesitate, because typically in the process of applying, you are working with an admissions officer, which is what Brandy and I are. Like, we work in the admissions office, we make admissions decisions. And so many times, also admissions officers are also the immigration advisor. In some smaller schools, they could be doing both. But ask us, like, send us an email and just say, I'm concerned about immigration questions, or I want to contact that office. Can you put me in touch with them? So at least you can reach out and figure out another point of contact on our college campuses.
And they're going to make you check in. Like, when you are going to travel home for the holidays, you have to go check in with them in order for you to keep your status. So there's no way of sort of getting around. Like, you're always going to know who these people are, but it's better for them to know your name ahead of time than for you to only see them once a year. So use them as a resource while you're
sometimes they have like fun parties and outings and
yes.
teas and events. And so you want to be involved with this office, because it will really help you also stay engaged on campus.
One of the things I would recommend for all of these is actually following them on social media. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the International Student Services offices have an Instagram account or a Facebook page, and anybody can follow them or look at them. And so you will see the kind of activities. I think ours is like, do you know what yours got? Rollins OISS or something like that. It's on Instagram. And so
ours is actually GEO, which is Global Engagement Office. And
cool.
So it's, it's a little bit, it's different, but you can definitely find it.
Yeah. And that's a visual for you. So you can get a sense and an idea of what college life looks like for an international student at that university.
Special events. And so, yes, there are even more events to do on different. Is that a fox, Brandy?
It's a fox dancing on a table.
It's a fox dancing on a table. Did you just pull that off the internet, or do you actually have something to talk about with a fox?
So one of the best things about our university, Rollins College, is Fox Day. It's a fun celebration. It's a tradition that's been happening for many, many years, where the president of the university decides at some point in the spring, there's going to be a day where he decides there's no class that day. And nobody knows ahead of time when it's going to be. It is never announced ahead of time. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. He uses his little golf cart to bring this big, heavy bronze statue of a fox out onto the middle of campus. And that determines that day is Fox Day. So any assignments that were due that day are no longer due. Classes are canceled. Everybody has the big barbecue. Some people go to the beach. And it's because the fox is one of our mascots. So Fox Day, as you can see, is a big celebration because it's free day, no classes that day. And that's just one example of some of the fun things that create a culture on campuses across the United States. There's a number of different things. We celebrate Mardi Gras. We, of course, have Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. We have Shabbat dinners on Fridays. Mm-hmm. So all of these things that are important to you, you should never have to give those things up when you go to university in the States.
And the whole idea behind it is this is your home. And so this is your community. So the idea is that we want to give you a place where you can express yourself and meet other students and learn from each other, because it's not just sitting inside a classroom and sitting behind a desk, and that's the only place you learn. You learn at all of these events. Also, one of the things that we're talking about here is community service, and both of our campuses do a great job of giving back to the community. And each of us have actual special days, like one day completely dedicated to community service. And the entire campus is engaged in some sort of activity of doing community service, either on campus or within the city that we live in. And so that's something else that is involved in like a special event. Some schools, their special events is a large football game on Friday night. That's just one event. So Division I, big, actually be Saturday morning on college campuses. So there are going to be big American football events, and that's another type of special events that they would have.
So that's the next thing we're going to talk about, actually. So athletics and fitness, and it will vary from school to school. There are Division I, Division II, and Division III schools. Division I is basically that's where professional athletes are recruited. So those universities offer usually full ride or full tuition scholarships, and you have to be extremely good. You usually have to have been on a national team in order to be considered for a D1 school. D2 schools are a little bit less competitive, but they also they do offer scholarships, not usually full. Most of the time they're partial, but it's also up to the discretion of the coach. And then D3 schools are less competitive and they do not offer scholarships. Then there's other regional, like NAIA, which is a regional division, but that's kind of the determining factor. And you can tell a lot about a university based on what sports they offer.
Yeah, and so one thing, if you are sitting out there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is me, I am that athlete, I really am interested in an athletic scholarship in the United States. One way that Brandy and I both feel can kind of give you that advantage is go to a summer camp. So you can attend during the summer, especially the summer before your 11th year or 12th year in high school. If you can go to any institution in the United States, does not even have to be one that you want to ultimately attend, and enroll in a camp. So let's say that it's tennis and you really want to play tennis. All of our institutions will offer a summer camp just for tennis. You live in the residence halls, you play in front of the coach. It's not very expensive. And the way is the coach for you to see you how you play. Because without it, as you can imagine, coaches can't see every single player around the world.
Right. They're not usually they don't fly to other parts of the world to recruit athletes. And so they go to the summer camp or the tournament down the street from them to see what's available. And so if you have the opportunity, like Amy said, even if it's a university or college you don't plan on attending, but there's a great summer camp or tournament happening, that you need to get yourself in front of a coach so they can see you. That's how all of those transactions happen most of the time.
Because you have to think you're competing literally with the rest of the world. There are a few universities in Canada that offer sports scholarships, but generally speaking, the United States is the only country that offers athletic scholarships for students to attend university. So you really are competing with the entire world for those spots.
And it's also one of the things that, your tuition pays for you to be part of this kind of culture of sports. So students can go to the basketball games, they can go to the baseball games, tennis, they can go cheer on their swim team roommate. It's one of the best things about U.S. college campuses and the culture that's created is that you get to be a part of this community, and it is usually through sports. And it's included obviously in your tuition. It's not like you have to pay to go to the games or anything like that.
Some places, big schools. All right, so we're going to talk briefly about each of our institutions, and then afterwards we'll have some contact information that you can contact each of us. I work at St. Edward's University, which is located right in Austin, Texas, and we're a small private liberal arts school founded in 1885, which only coincidentally Rollins College was too, which you'll hear in just a minute. Actually was started by a group of French monks who also founded the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. So they are our sister school. And so we are a Catholic institution, but there are no religious requirements. So you do not have to attend chapel. You do not have to be Catholic to go to school there. We have a wide variety of students who are Muslim, who are Jewish, non-denominational. So it is not part of our requirements. We're liberal arts, which means all of our majors actually has a liberal arts component. So everybody's going to be taking some English, some science, some math, some social sciences, and you have time to pick and choose what you want to study. We do not have PhD programs, so you will never be taught by a PhD student. So our focus is really on the undergraduate experience. For us, I would say we're kind of that best combination, small learning environment, but a great city right in your backyard. So we're just a few minutes from downtown Austin. And so all of the benefits are Austin you can have like during your college education. So more internships than we can fill. If you're interested in politics, if you're interested in film, if you're interested in music, if you're interested in tech, Dell Computers is right there at the headquarters. We have plenty of options, art, and global engagement for students to really stay engaged. And direct flights. Both Brandy and I have direct flights from, well, we're sitting in Mexico City, directly from Mexico City to Austin. So it is something to think about. If you're ever in Austin or Orlando and in any other city in the United States, I highly recommend that you take a campus tour of some U.S. university that is near where you are vacationing to at least get a sense of what type of campus might be a good fit for you. Is it too small? Is it too big? Is it too close to a city, too far away? And if you're ever in Austin, we would love to have you come visit. We'll show you around campus. Be a great time.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about Rollins College. We were also founded in 1885. We were founded by snowbirds. So we were founded by families that were living up in Massachusetts that wanted to get away from the snow, and they wanted to open up homes or create homes in the winter park resort areas where they founded Rollins College. And the very first building on our campus actually looks like a New England type of building. Actually, you can kind of see it right there. And the rest of them look like Spanish Mediterranean architecture because that's really what Florida is. So we are located on the back end of this beautiful lake called Lake Virginia. We are only 71 acres. So not a very, very large university. Even though we've been around since 1885, we are only 2,000 undergraduate students, and we don't plan on becoming a very large institution. We pride ourselves in being small, customer, like we're very, very face-to-face, community-driven kind of school. So you're going to know the name of your professors. They're going to know yours. In fact, they are your first mentor. When you get on campus, you get a faculty mentor. That leads you sort of through advising you and in your curriculum. So it's a very similar situation to like if you went to a high school in Latin America where the classes are kind of small and then everyone kind of knows everyone. It's very similar to that. It's kind of feels like home. We have, again, a liberal arts curriculum, just like St. Edward's, which means you have the freedom to choose. The first 2 years are designed for you to explore. You can take that marine biology class you've always wanted to take. You can go take an art class. You can take a performing arts class alongside your business, your science, your math, your English classes. You can do study abroad. We have over 90 countries that you can study abroad in, and 70% of our students go abroad. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when are you going to go study abroad. It doesn't cost any extra for you to go do that, so why not? It's definitely a exploratory first 2 years, and then after you've decided, you have this wisdom-filled decision because you've now taken all the classes, you decide what your major is going to be, and you focus on that for the last 2 years. Rollins has a huge sense of community service and social justice and global citizenship. Those are all service-led learning. Those are all sort of our mission and vision statements, and it's peppered throughout our entire curriculum. We want to create responsible leaders. So our most popular majors are in business, but we also have social sciences, computer science, political science, biology if you want to become a doctor, economics, or if you want to study law someday. So we sort of prepare you, and engineering, we have a 3-2 program, just like St. Edward's has a 3-2 program with other universities for engineering in the United States. So as far as the list of majors, there's 36 different choices that we cover. And the best thing about Rollins, I think, is just the connectivity that you have with Orlando, because we're only 10 minutes away from downtown. You can go to a soccer game, you can go to a concert, you can be in Disney World in 30 minutes. We have strong relationships with hospitals, hotels in the area. So if you want to do an internship during the summer, there's a lot of tech companies and Fortune 500 companies that have Orlando as their hub, which are 10 minutes away. So we have this long-standing relationship with them, and that can also help you get jobs after you graduate. Okay, I think we've kind of covered everything. We want to thank you, and we are going to apologize for not putting our emails on here, but we can tell you what they are. Mine is bfransen@rollins.edu.
And mine is Amy, K, AMYK, at stedwards.edu, which is STEDWARDS.edu. But if you go to either one of our websites,
You can find us.
you can find us. And please send us an email. We were just saying we really don't get that many emails from interested students. So please reach out. We'll be happy to answer questions. Even if it's not about our institutions, we can chat about other institutions in the United States and answer questions about application process or what to go from here.
Thank you.